Your skin instructor's tip of the week. Let's shift your mindset for a second. If your client isn't following the routine you gave them, it's really easy to think they're just being inconsistent or not taking it seriously. But most of the time, it's not that. They're overwhelmed, confused, or it just doesn't fit into their life. Especially with male clients, you have to think practically over perfection. The best routine is not the most advanced one. It's the one they'll actually do every single day without thinking about it. So instead of asking, what's your ideal regimen? Start asking, what would this person realistically stick with? Because consistency will always outperform complexity.
Welcome back to the Skin Instructors. I'm Jolie.
What's so funny?
I really loved that. Think practically over perfection. Like, I love that. I'm going to keep that in my head.
I'm Morgan. Today's episode is actually one that came directly from one of you, which we love. Yeah. We had a listener reach out who was just starting aesthetic school. So first of all, welcome to the industry.
Yes,
you picked a really good one.
Yes. We're so excited for you. And also, this is just such a good topic request because male skincare is one of those that isn't really talked about enough in school. But once you're out in the treatment room, you'll realize quickly how important it is.
Yeah. And honestly, it's one of those things where once it clicks, your results get so much better. Not just because of the biology, but because of how differently male clients approach skincare in general. So let's start with the basics because this is where everything builds from. Male skin is not just skin, but thicker. There are real structural and functional differences that change how we treat it.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things you'll notice right away is that male skin is actually thicker, like significantly thicker. We're talking about 20 to 25% thicker than female skin.
Right, which means when you're working on them, the skin can feel more resilient, sometimes a little tougher to work through, especially with things like extractions.
Yeah, and then on top of that, they have a higher collagen density. So naturally, their skin holds on to firmness longer, which is why you don't always see those early fine lines the same way you might see in female clients.
But the big one, the thing you're going to notice immediately is that oil production.
Yep. Testosterone is driving a lot of sebaceous activity. So you're seeing more oil across the board. And that changes everything from how their skin looks to how it responds to products.
And this is where a lot of newer estheticians go wrong. They see the oil and immediately just want to strip it away.
Yeah, which that backfires because now the skin's like, oh, okay, we're dry. Let's produce more oil.
Exactly. So instead of thinking remove oil, you want to think regulate and balance. That shift alone will completely change your results with male clients.
And this ties really well into aging because male skin kind of ages differently.
It does. And I think this is one of the biggest misconceptions because people think that men just age better.
And they don't age better. They just age differently.
Exactly. Because they have more collagen. They don't always show early signs of aging as quickly. So in their 20s and 30s, their skin can still look pretty firm and pretty smooth.
But the issue is there's usually no prevention happening during that time.
Right. No SPF, no consistent skincare, nothing supporting the skin long term.
So when aging does start to show up, it tends to be more intense, deeper wrinkles, more noticeable texture changes, and more advanced sun damage.
And at that point, well, they're coming to you wanting results, but they're kind of starting behind schedule.
Which is why even introducing something simple early on, like a sunscreen and a basic routine, can make such a huge difference.
We have to talk about shaving because this is something that's happening constantly and it impacts the skin way more than people realize.
Yeah, shaving is basically controlled trauma to the skin if it's not done correctly.
Okay, that sounds dramatic,
Yeah.
but it's true. You're physically dragging a blade across your skin, often daily.
Yep. So you're getting that mechanical exfoliation, but also micro tears, irritation, and potential inflammation, especially if they're using dull razors or they have no real prep.
And then we start seeing things like ingrown hairs, razor bumps, folliculitis, all of that.
And a lot of clients think it's acne, which leads them to use the wrong products, which makes it worse.
Yep. So part of your job becomes education, not just skincare, but shaving technique.
Things like shaving with the grain, not going over the same area multiple times, and using proper glide, and then calming the skin afterwards.
I hate watching men shave their face. It's like
Yeah.
it's like they're closing their eyes and they're just like scraping their face, scrape.
Yes.
Like it's crazy.
I did come across one guy on TikTok who like really makes it into his ritual, and he does such a lovely job. It's so satisfying. His skin looks incredible. Like I
He's not
love
causing
watching his videos.
damage?
I don't know what his name is. No, like
I love it.
He doesn't just shave. He has a routine.
Yeah.
He has a ritual. He has a regimen. There's a lot of intention
his
put into
self-care.
it. It truly is.
I love
yeah,
that.
it truly is.
Well, when you're not addressing the root cause of these issues, and they're just going to chase their symptoms.
Totally. So when a male client comes in, what are we typically seeing?
Well, a lot of oil, we talked about that. Congestion, especially in the T-zone. Blackheads, buildup, texture.
And then you also see what we kind of jokingly call neglect-driven skin.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds harsh, but it's actually just a lack of routine. It's not necessarily doing anything wrong, but just not doing anything.
Exactly. No consistent cleansing, exfoliation, no protection. So the skin just kind of accumulates issues over time.
I talk to my husband about this probably every 2 weeks at
Yeah.
least. He's like, why is my skin doing this? I'm like, because you haven't been doing your stuff. And he's like, oh, yeah. But when somebody isn't doing all of any of their stuff, you know, the results can be really dramatic when you start introducing things.
Totally, because when you introduce even a simple routine, their skin starts to respond quickly to that.
Yeah, and that's actually a really great opportunity to build trust with that client. And it's a big education opportunity to learn more about behavioral patterns and compliance with male clients.
Yep. And this is where things really shift. Male clients tend to approach skincare very differently. They tend to want things to be quick, efficient, and straightforward.
Yeah, they're not looking for a long, relaxing routine, except for your
that one
client
guy.
you're talking about.
Yep.
They're not looking for stuff. They're not looking for multiple steps. They want something that just fits into their day without a ton of effort.
And if it feels complicated or time consuming, they're just not going to do it.
And I think this is where estheticians sometimes get frustrated, but it's not resistance, it's just preference. They're not fighting you on your recommendations. They just know that they're not going to do it.
Yeah, it's about what fits into their lifestyle. So it's just not aligning with how they operate.
So instead of trying to change your behavior, let's adapt our approach to fit them.
This is honestly the most important part of the entire episode.
If you take nothing else away from today, just simplify everything.
Start with basics. Cleanser, something targeted like an antioxidant, and then an SPF.
Yep. And even without that, you need to make it feel effortless. Like, okay, you do this in the shower. You do this before you leave the house. Very clear, very simple. I feel like we're talking to them like they're not going to understand. They got things to do.
Yeah, exactly. If they have to really think about it, they might be less likely to do it. And I feel like this is where those multi-use products come into play.
Absolutely.
Where you get multiple benefits from one.
Yeah, and then once they're consistent and starting to see results, that's when you can start layering things in. Then you got to gain trust.
Yeah. If you start too advanced, too fast, you're going to lose them.
Every time. Okay, now maybe not every time. Because we aren't here to insult the go-getters who want to use all the things, but truly, the majority of men want a simplified routine.
Totally.
There's always the exception to the rule. I
Absolutely.
understand.
And we love that because then we can dive into all of our things.
Yes. Now let's get into the treatment room.
Because male skin can handle certain things differently. That doesn't mean you go aggressive right away.
Even though I want to.
Right.
Yeah, the skin might be thicker, but you still have to factor in things like the shaving, sensitivity, and overall skin condition.
You might be able to use a little more pressure, especially with extractions, but it's always based on what's right in front of you.
Yeah, and then product-wise, you're looking for things that help regulate oil without compromising the barrier.
Yeah, so again, you're balancing, you're not stripping. So now when it comes to communication style, as with any client, communication is huge. But there's going to be some adjustments in how you communicate to your male clients.
Honestly, this can make or break whether they follow your recommendations.
Keep it simple, keep it direct, and focus on the results.
And instead of going into a full ingredient breakdown, just explain what it's going to do for them.
Like, this is going to help with the breakouts, or this is going to make shaving smoother.
And be clear about how to use it. So morning, night, how much, how long it takes.
Yeah, the less guesswork, the better. So write it out for them.
And we cannot end this conversation without talking about SPF.
Agreed, because this is probably the biggest gap that we see.
We're noticing low usage, but high exposure time, especially if they have outdoor jobs, playing sports or just general lifestyle.
And there's a lot of resistance when it comes down to how it feels.
Yeah, I feel like that's a really common comment that I hear is like, I don't like
So
how
greasy.
it feels.
Yeah. It's so drying.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where, your product selection matters. You want that lightweight, non-greasy, easy to apply.
Yeah. Sometimes even combining it with something else like a moisturizer can kind of help increase that compliance.
Yep. And again, explain it in a way that makes sense to them. All right, your homework for this week. I want you to think of a male client or create one and build a 3-step routine for them.
But don't just pick products. Think about how you explain it to them in a way that feels just simple and doable.
Like, could they follow this without overthinking it?
Because that's the goal. We loved this episode and we're so glad it came from you.
Keep sending us your ideas. We genuinely build our episodes around what you need.
And if you enjoyed this, make sure to rate, review, and subscribe.
Also, follow us on Instagram at STTraining and check out everything at sttraining.com. That's ESTI training.com. While we're on the subject of our education portal, this month we launched our subscription.
Woo.
Yes, it is $5 a month, and we are absolutely obsessed. If you've enjoyed our podcast, you'll want to check out all the additional education that we're providing on our site.
Yes, please do. We're expanding everything we do here on the podcast in an easy to understand bites delivered to you in a monthly drop. So check it out. And thank you again for joining us today. And as always, don't hesitate to educate.